Hello, let's talk about Light from Uncommon Stars by Reika Aoki, a 2021 fantasy science fiction novel set in a contemporary California where let's read the let's read the this is a bit of a kind of combination of Goodreads and myself. It's an adventure with cursed violins, Faustian bargains, and queer alien courtship over fresh-made donuts. Trans teen girl violinist Katrina Nguyen runs away to California from abusive parents and is mentored by world-famous Shizuka Satomi, known as the Queen of Hell in classical violin circles. Satomi ends up in a relationship with Lan Tran, who is even more out of this world than the donuts that she serves at the donut shop that she has, Starship donuts that she has purchased. So yeah, it's a deal with the devil, refugee, space aliens. There's just living in this in a transphobic world, with that kind of the nature of fame, fortune, and art, all set to the particular music of these characters. So yeah, the book is a rather wacky combination of genres, which your mileage may vary on that, how much you want science fiction in your fantasy and fantasy in your science fiction. And I have to say, it's a tricky combination to pull off. In inexperienced hands or someone who's not really good at kind of mixing all that stuff together, it can spin out of control or just bounce you out of it. Just not you want to just get into the story and just kind of be in the story. It can kind of knock you out. And I think this novel is trying to get you to kind of just fully invest in what's a rather kind of heartfelt story. Aoki, the author, is a trans woman herself and really captures the kind of the real pain and difficulty of a trans girl with abusive parents who is internalized the hate around her, and she within Katrina's own thoughts are slurs against trans people. It's she's really internalized this into herself, and this is a story of her trying to struggle to find a safe place where she can kind of realize herself and practice her art, her music, as a violinist. Um, I like the relationship that develops between kind of the world famous violin teacher Satomi and this shop owner and starship captain Lan Tran. Other characters that definitely stand out here is Astrid, Satomi's housemaid, who comforts as much with food as with her warm manner. Uh, there is a holographic daughter that Lantran has, which is another interesting kind of mixing there of kind of how parents want their children to be versus how their children actually are, and how much they can let go and let them be, or how much children have to fight to establish themselves and make decisions for themselves. I don't really think that the two streams of the demons with curses are that actually do well together with the science fiction elements in this. I think the problem is that the connecting point, the place where that these stories should be welded together and held up, is through the music. There's so much music in this book, but and that a lot of that is coming from Katrina, but also other places. But the method used is that the music is evoked by the memories that it conjures up in the characters listening to the music. So it'll cast you back to memories of your past, or the hurt and pain. But it didn't really connect me to the music. I could see the characters in the novel connecting to the music, but it didn't really connect me to the music. I always felt like I was sort of on the outside looking in. There was that kind of divide where I think to be really successful, it should have sucked me in somehow. I kept on thinking of Vikram Seth's Equal Music, which is a literary novel about a quartet of classical musicians that described the music so well that I went out and began listening to the pieces mentioned. I was swept up in the music in that book, but not so much in this novel. So, and you combine that with it has what felt like at places kind of a wandering plot, like, oh, you get that kind of just that lull where you're like, oh, when are we going to get to the next thing, and you don't know where it's kind of going, and you just, the book didn't have that narrative drive. And it's a book about with a musician at the heart of it, that has a musical competition at the end, which if I'd been more swept up I probably would have forgiven, but because I wasn't as swept up, I felt that disconnect. I noticed stuff like that, like, oh, okay, here we have the musical competition, we have kind of a ticking clock on a curse. It felt mechanical, which I think doesn't serve such kind of a heartfelt book that well. So yeah, it's a mixed review on this. I cared about the characters, but the mixing of the genres and not getting into the music kind of downgraded it for me. I'm certainly going to pick up, I think, the next book by Aoki though, and or I might read her He Mile a Hilo song, which is which was written in 2014 and is set in Hawaii and told using a mix of English and the local language. So it sounds like it might be a kind of like, while I'm waiting for the next book by Aoki, that might be a place to delve in a little bit more, and maybe that's just a little bit more just magic realism versus this mix of genres. So it'll be interesting to see that. So yeah, that has been my thoughts on Light from Uncommon Stars, which I have to say is a bit of a generic title. There's a couple of Light of or Light Froms out there, and but it's definitely a distinctive book, more distinctive than its title. And for books with trans characters, young trans characters at the heart of it, who it's making that case for view trans people as people, and realize that this is just another way of being in our world. Definitely worth checking out for that on its own. All right, I will leave it there. I've been Jay. More videos later.